It's Chords and Coffee, and today we're going to talk about the old standby, the old 1-5-6-4. It has been my observation while on the journey of life playing guitar that this chord progression is going to come up a lot. I'm being a little sarcastic here. Yes, you probably already know that by now, and if not, and I'm the first person that gets to tell you, well, that's great. Because this is a very, very common chord progression. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a couple of ways. First of all, there's going to be two very low-hanging fruit. You probably already know this, but if you don't, this is going to come up a lot. I'm going to show you two ways to play it. And then I'm going to show you a couple of ways to play this progression that are some really cool, unique voicings to these grips. Now, don't forget that if you like, one of these chord progressions in a particular voicing that involves open strings, don't forget you can put a capo on there. You can move that around. And that's the whole point of this lesson, because as common as this chord progression is, you need to have a few arrows in your quiver that are just a little bit different than your standard run-of-the-mill progression. Why is that? Well, because if you're playing with another guitar player, or how about this? Let's just say you probably got a handful of songs that all have the same basic chord progression. And it might be nice to differentiate between those songs. It's kind of like having a bunch of different blues songs in your set. You kind of need a different treatment just to be able to add a little bit of spice. So this is a spicy 1-5-6-4 progression. All right, so let's start off with the basics here. I'm going to grab these charts. And away we go. We're going to start off with the first one. Not the one that I played at the top, but I'll give you that here in just a second. This is in the key of E. The thing that makes this really cool is that you've got an open E and an open B string ringing the whole time. And again, this is a great one to use. And don't forget, you can always tune your guitar down a whole step or down a half step, or put a capo on to all of a sudden add some harmonic interest to this if you're playing this with someone else. So, index finger, 7th fret of the A string. Your ring finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the D. Pinky's going to be on the 9th fret of the G. B and E are going to be open for all of these voicings, and you're going to play them all. Right? So what do we have going on here? This is actually just an E5. It's just E's and B's. You've got an E, you've got a B, you've got an E, you've got a B, you've got an E. And another E. E's and B's. Eggs and bacon. The next one's going to be, this is a B sus4, so you're going to have your index finger exact same grip. We're not going to change anything. Just slide this whole sheboing down here to the 2nd fret. Index finger on the 2nd fret of the A. Not going to play the low E, because it would change the tonality of the chord. So starting with the A string, and then ring finger's going to be on the 4th fret of the D. Pinky's going to be on the 4th fret of the G. E's and B's are open. Now that unresolved feeling is okay, because as soon as the ear hears these ringing strings back to back on these chords, your ear starts to go, I get it. That flavor's going to be in every single one of these. That's exactly right. So after that B, you just slide the whole thing up a whole step or 2 half steps to C sharp minor 7. And it's a minor 7 because we've got that B natural in it. So again, index finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the A. Not playing the low E at all, but we're going to have a ring finger and pinky on the 4th fret. Rings on the D, pinky's on the G, 4th fret, E's and B's ringing open. Now here's the only difference, is now we're going to slide down to the 2nd fret. And if you want to kind of keep sort of an equality in the finger grips, meaning you're just doing the exact same thing every time, you could use your pinky and your index or your ring finger. That feels so weird to me. You got these two little dangling appendages. Anytime the middle finger gets left alone, it can cause trouble. So what you might want to do is use your middle finger and ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the D with the middle finger, and then 2nd fret of the G with the ring finger. Open A, open B, open E. A sus2, so the whole thing is. Right? You've heard that before, played that before, probably. If not, I promise you, friend, I'll bet you a whole box of donuts that'll actually come up multiple times in your life. And you'll thank me for that grip, because it's a good one. Again, next time you're playing, like if you're playing something that, is in, like a key of F, throw a capo on the 1st fret and then use those same grips and just watch what happens, because those ringing strings create this lovely jangle against the traditional chord forms. That's nice, right? All right, so let's do another one. This one's gonna be in the key of G. This is the sort of the Wonderwall treatment, if you will, if you know that song. In this one, we're gonna have our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, index finger is gonna be on the 2nd fret of the A, the D string and the G string are gonna be open, ring finger is gonna be on the 3rd fret of the B, and then pinky's gonna be on the 3rd fret of the high E. Good old G in this particular grip, because we've got our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B, we've got 2 D notes, so that 5th makes it really robust sounding. So there's your 1 chord, and then now your 5 chord. You're gonna leave your ring and your pinky just right where they're at for all 4 of these chords. And so you're making this D sus4 because you got the G in it, right? And by the way, I would use this on a ton of songs. You know, if I'm playing Going Back Down or something like that, you know? This is a super useful progression. So index finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the G with the D string open, not really playing the A or the E on that one, right? And then now for the E minor, index finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the A, middle finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the D, and then play them all. And then now for this C add 9, this is going to be basically just like the G shape, but you're going to move your ring finger to the 3rd fret of the A, and then your index finger to the 2nd fret of the D, and then you've got this open G string. So. I mean, your ear recognizes that. Am I right? And friends, let me just tell you, I assure you, I promise you, I make you a Chords and Coffee guarantee that chord progression will come up. So now we've got kind of home base squared away here. What happens if we want to play something that's got a little spice, a little flavor, a little something different? I'm gonna give this to you in a key that is often neglected, but one of my favorite keys to play in on the guitar, the key of B. Why? Because you got that ringing B string that you can get involved. And also, there's something about when the fourth chord of a chord progression, so in this case it would be E, when you have that low E come in and it's really big and robust like that, I don't know, it's nice, it's satisfying. So, the first grip I'm gonna give you here, this is gonna be index finger on the 2nd fret of the A, ring finger on the 4th fret of the D, pinky is gonna be on the 4th fret of the G, open B. Now you're gonna take your middle finger and you're gonna put it on the 2nd fret of the high E. I know it's a little weird and stretchy, but try it. Remember, if your hand is like cramped and you're like, I can't do it, try moving your thumb around. If your thumb is too far this way, if it's too far in the middle of the neck, you might try creeping it. Mine's kind of wanting to creep back up here towards the top of the neck here. I mean, there's a middle ground where it's useless here, but move your thumb around. If your hand hurts, your left hand, assuming you're a right-handed person playing the guitar, move your chord hand's thumb around until you find a place of comfort. Oh, I almost swallowed that coffee wrong. Gotta take another drink here. That old B chord will do it to you. All right, so got your thumb in the right spot. There it is. And immediately, what your ear hears that you might be like, why does that sound cool? Because you got that open B, and you got that F sharp, that 5 ringing, and it just gives it this wonderful jangle factor. So that's gonna be our 1. Now, our 2 chord is literally, our 5 chord. We're going to literally just move our index finger, leave everything where it's at, and we're gonna move our index finger over to the 2nd fret. Something fall back there? We okay? Chords and Coffee will knock you out, friends. Hey, there it is. That's Jordan behind the camera. He's keeping it all together for us. All right. So you're just gonna take your index finger and you're gonna move it to the low E 2nd fret. Now by doing that, what happens is your index finger kind of comes across the A string, kills it dead. I mean, it's deep woods off on a mosquito. It's over, friends. But that's what you want. You don't want that A string ringing like that. Right? So there's your 5 chord. And then now, for your G sharp minor, you got to do a little bit of wrangling here, because what's going to happen is your ring and your pinky are going to stay put, and then your middle finger is going to come over here to the 4th fret of the low E. Now, just like that index finger just a second ago, that middle finger, because of the angle that it's going over the A string, it's going to kill it. So don't have to worry about that. And also, don't try to put too much arch in it, thinking that you need to get out of the way of that A string. Just lay that middle finger down, hitting that 4th fret, mute that A, and then take this index finger now that's free, and go ahead and put that on the 2nd fret of the high E, just like we were covering up a while ago. So in all these chords, we've got this F sharp ringing. So you've got now I'll give you this. Hitting that F sharp like that, the first time you hit it, you're probably going to feel a little discomfort in your ring finger. Again, move your thumb around. And then now that G sharp minor, then for the E, a couple schools of thought on this E. We can actually go back to the first grip, which was this B grip here, and then just put the E in the bass. That sounds really good. Sort of reminds me of like the Goo Goo Dolls. You know how a lot of times their lead singer, Johnny, I believe is his name, he comes up with these really interesting tunings, and there's a lot of, you know, 1s and 5s and things like that ringing. Has kind of that kind of thing. Of course, this J200 is probably helping out too. This is just a cannon of a guitar. So the whole thing, I can go, back to that E. If I just put my index finger on the 2nd fret of the B, right, of the A string on the B note, and then my ring finger's on the 4th fret of the D, pinky's on the 4th fret of the G, open B, and then middle finger's on the 2nd fret of the high E, and if I just play that low E in there, it becomes this, you know, E sus2 chord. Also, if I'm like, man, that's uncomfortable, I just can't do it, I just don't like that, well, then give your fingers a rest, and then just leave your ring and your pinky where they're at, and then use your middle finger here. This may require a little bit of thought the first time you do it, but you can lightly just kind of rest him. Just kind of like, you know, leaning up against the counter. You're not totally just sitting down, but you're just kind of just taking a quick little chill, just a vibe for a second. Resting on top of that A string so that A string is muted. I like that kind of voicing because I like the roots and the 5 kind of jangling, and how there's sort of, it's not really a rub, like in the sense of tension, but there's a sound to that just sounds very open, and very, like you could do anything on top of that. You know, it just sounds great. It just fills up the void. All right, so that's one. Now, let's change things up a little bit. Check this out, same key. This time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna think of this like a B major 7, and I'm gonna have my index finger is gonna be on the 2nd fret of the A, ring finger is gonna be on the 4th fret of the D. Now middle finger is gonna be on the 3rd fret of the G. And I'm gonna play the B string, but I'm not gonna play the high E. If I play the high E, that sus4, there's a place where that could live and it would be nice, but for this example, I just want this. You know, you get you like a single coil guitar, like some kind of Strat, and you know, throw on a chorus pedal. Or I've been checking out those new James Tyler Studio Elites. There's some switching there to kind of get that Dan Huff, Steve Lukather, Michael Landau thing. There's something about that sits so nicely on that. And what you're hearing that you like, I hope you like anyway, is this B flat and this B rubbing together. Now that's a rub of some tension, but in the context of the chord. Now, all I'm gonna do is just pick up my index finger and then put that on the 2nd fret of the low E. And again, by virtue of this finger kind of coming across the A string here, I'm muting it. Now on this G sharp minor, now it's a G sharp minor 9 because I'm leaving this B flat in here. So again, real quick recap. I took my index finger off of the 2nd fret of the A string, moved it to the low E. Everything else is the same. And then now I'm taking my middle finger and putting it on the 4th fret of the low E on that G sharp. Again, middle finger is going to dampen that A string. Index finger is going to hit the 3rd fret of the G. And that B is still ringing open. Now for this E chord. Now, how do we name this thing? I'm just going to call it this E Lydian idea because if you remember our modes discussion, which we had a lesson, the Chords and Coffee, on some, decoding modes kind of thing. To say E Lydian is just to say E is the 4th of what? Well, E is the 4th of B. And if I play a B major scale with E in the bass, that sound gives me the Lydian sound. And so this, you could think of it as like an F sharp sus4 or F sharp sus4, or maybe even like an 11, since there's a 4 and a dominant 7 in there. But I feel like just thinking of it as an E Lydian chord. Lots of tension, and it wants to kind of resolve back to this E, but listen to it in context. You could see how that could actually sort of become a part of a song. That's another thing, is that with these chord progressions, there's a lot of songs that essentially have this 1, 5, 6, 4 or some combination thereof, but just have those 4 chords, and it keeps repeating. Sometimes you have to invent a part to where you have some other voicing for that set of chords that sets that part apart from the rest of the song. Does that make sense to you? So there's another way to approach that same thing. All right, so let me give you one more. Just one more. I know it's a lot. So this last one, I'm going to change keys. I love this one because this is just a giant, this is in the key of C. This is like whenever I hear a bunch of roots and fives, I instantly kind of go into like this Irish thing, but especially like in a key like C or G or D. So this is super duper C here, and what you've got is your middle finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the low E, ring finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the A, your index finger is going to be on the 1st fret of the B, and then your pinky is going to be on the 3rd fret of the high E. Now, what happens is, as soon as you get that index finger there on that 1st fret of the B, you'll notice your fingers kind of flatten out, and that's totally fine because you're going to want to kill that D string, but let that G string ring open. So all you've got is G, C, G, C, G, just G's and C's, kind of like we had with this, but this is down here. I don't know why, but I just instantly want to go to a 6/8 thing when I do that. Now for the G chord, what would happen if you literally just, so instead of having my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, I'm going to move my ring finger to the 3rd fret of the low E. And the reason I'm doing that is because now I do want that D, that open D string, and I want that open B string to ring. And then after that, I'm just going to go to good old A minor 7. And this is going to be, index finger still going to be on the 1st fret of the B, pinky's still going to be on the 3rd fret of the high E. We're going to have an open G string, and then on the 2nd fret of the D, we're going to hold that down with our middle finger, and then the open A string. Now for the F, we're going to go back to the same grip that we had to start off with, but instead of being on the low E and the A, we're going to be on the A and the D. So middle finger is on the A string, 3rd fret. Ring finger is on the D string, 3rd fret. Open G. Index finger is going to be on the 1st fret of the B. Pinky's going to be on the 3rd fret of the high E. And it's kind of got this, F sus2, it's F's and G's. With a C in the bass. Listen to it. mean, that is a robust C shape. And again, these are things that you can use here and there or as you like, the same way you would spice something you're cooking up. And I hope that helps you cook up a delicious 1564 breakfast. Friends, this is Chords and Coffee, and we meet every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube. If you've got questions, your comments are what fuel this whole thing, so leave your comments if you've got questions about specific chord progressions, or even, hey, what would you do in this key, or how would you use that with the capo? Whatever the case may be. I love to hear from you. I appreciate you. We're living life best we can with the guitar in our hand, and we will see you next week for another Chords and Coffee.